Just asks if I was getting used to this, and I hope so. So this is number 2, and I hope we got a lot more to come. So when you think of Hall of Famers, you obviously think of the accolades that are on the field or on the court. And don't get me wrong, JT had plenty of those throughout her career, including a 2-time OVC Player of the Year and our program's first and so far only All-American. She led our team in batting average her sophomore, junior, and senior years, and was second on the team her freshman year, which is pretty crazy. She only struck out 40 times in 626 at-bats in her 4 years, which is insanity if you know our sport. I think I had a kid last year strike out that many times in 1 year, so that just can kind of give you that picture. She also had plenty of home runs in her career, but I'm going to take credit for a lot of those because I think every time I called a hit and run for her, it went over the fence. So I'm going to take credit for some of those. The accolades are obviously enough to give JT the honor of being here for the 2022 Hall of Fame class. However, I'm more proud of Jessica for who she is as a teammate, who she was as a worker, and who she is as a woman than her accomplishments on the field. It's tough to put into words a kid who seems to have done everything right from the moment we started recruiting her till now, other than that one study hall moment your senior year. Yeah, we won't talk about that though. JT absolutely crushed it in the classroom, graduating with her undergrad and master's in 5 years. She was a leader who people wanted to follow, both on and off the field. She put in the work and literally earned all of the accolades that you've seen, read, that Dave listed, that I've listed. And that's when the work got put in, when I got to know JT as a human being. What she wanted from her academic and softball career, what she wanted from her professional career. Like clockwork, she got extra hitting reps for 3 straight years the day before a game. It might have been 4, but that was a long time ago, and I can't remember it. I was like her pitching machine, quite literally, just throwing balls one at a time to make her feel good about her swing. We literally didn't talk about softball most of those days. And now she's anything but a kid. She's a successful Division I softball coach that daily gives back to the sport that she loves and had so much over the years. She volunteers her time regularly for the youth of her community. She's kind, caring, a thoughtful daughter and friend to all who are lucky enough to call her that. It's an absolute honor to have been a part of her journey up until now and to help introduce her on this big day. She deserves every second of it. Her younger brother, Jackson, on her recruiting trip asked, "Hey coach, what's in it for me?" And while he never got to throw out the first pitch or got on our team bus, I hope that coming back for this is still a pretty cool moment. So without further ado, JT, congratulations. I just told Coach that was pretty tough to follow. Just being back here is honestly it's a lot of nostalgic and a little surreal. It's pretty sweet to look out there and see all my teammates that came, some down the road and some from much further than that, to be back here. My family, my parents, my brothers, my niece and nephews, whoever he is. Sorry for them up here, but bring a little life to the party. My travel softball coach surprised me, and I'll never forget when I was getting recruited, or when I signed, he told a strikeout story on my signing day, and I'm gonna stand up here and tell one too, so it's kind of a weird full circle moment. But gosh, my coaches, I honestly can't say enough about them, and I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about them. But Coach Gill was the first person, I think, that really, there was a turning point moment when I realized I might be kind of good at softball. I don't know if she even remembers it, and maybe she said it to everybody. But we were hitting downstairs in the little dungeon cage, and do you remember? You don't? You do? Okay. We were hitting down there, and she was like, "JT, who do you want in the box with the game on the line?" And I was like, And I named off a couple players older than me. I was a sophomore. Named off a couple players older than me that I thought were pretty good, seniors. And she was like, "That's weird. I'd pick you." And maybe she said that to all of us. I have no idea. But that was the first moment where I was like, why? Why would you do that? And I started to believe her, and it was a huge turning point in my career. And so, Coach Gill, thank you. Coach K, I'll get back to you. Gosh, just everybody at Murray State, what everybody's saying, it's special, and it's about more than just being a good athlete here. And I think that's what's really special is people care about you. And I got to see that from the very beginning, and I'm eternally grateful for what God did in my life. In the time that I was here, the people he put in my life while I was here, and it's the biggest amount of growth was the 4 years that I spent in college at Murray State. And so I'm going to tell a couple of stories because I think it makes it a little more fun for everybody, and then I'm going to be done. But first, I think I would be amiss if I didn't tell my most popular story in all of my softball college career. I was a junior, and we were at Jacksonville University. I was on first base somehow, it doesn't matter. And Jocelyn was up to bat, and Coach puts on a hit and run. So I was running. I get it. All right, Coach, here we go. And I take off, and I slide into second base, and I stand up and turn around. Jocelyn has just finished her swing. The ball's on the ground. And the shortstop says to me through her glove, hey, man, that was a foul ball. And I was like, oh, thanks. I start jogging back to first base. I get halfway back to first base, and the shortstop points at me and yells, "Get her!" I made it back to first base safely, but I think that a stat is an unofficial, probable stat, is I'm probably the only player to steal and unsteal a base. So, all that to say, that day I learned that trust shouldn't be freely given. It's a true story. That's the really sad part. And then one more story, just kind of speaking of stats of stealing and unstealing a base. There's one stat that Coach kind of hinted at it that really is easy for me to remember, that probably not a lot of people do. And I was a sophomore. I'd just been named Player of the Year for the first time. And the first 2 games right after that, came out in the tournament, played okay. We won, so played, good enough, hit okay. The third game, we were squared up with Tennessee Tech, and Tennessee Tech had this pitcher that we just battled for 4 years. She'd beat me 1 game, I'd beat her 1 game. Up to that point, I'd struck out 4 times all season, and I struck out 3 times in that 1 game. I finally made contact in my last at-bat, though, when I hit a 4-footer back to the pitcher. Single-handedly left 5 runners on base, and we lost by 2 runs. So it felt like it was going to be a better story than that. We lost, but in college softball, it's double elimination, or in the OVC it was. So I was crushed that night. I got back to the hotel room, and sitting on the TV stand next to the TV was this Player of the Year trophy. And I picked it up, and I squeezed it as tight as I possibly could, just to keep me from throwing it out the window or breaking it in half. Because I didn't feel like the player of the night that night. I didn't play like it by all objective standards, right? And I felt like a fraud in a lot of ways. The pressure had got to me. I felt like I had to live up to something. And so I text my mom, come get this thing. I can't even look at it. That's not who I am. And that night, Coach texts me, and she's checking in on me and asking if I'm okay and where I'm at and blah, blah, blah. So we'll talk a little bit, and she might not remember this either, but this is what she said to me, still in the camera roll on my phone. She said, "Guess what? It's over. This game is special, and it's special because we get to go try again tomorrow. Nothing to lose. And just so you know, I already knew you'd be good tomorrow, but I wanted to make sure you knew you'd be good tomorrow." Smiley face. "So get some sleep, dude, and I'll see you tomorrow." And in the middle of my failure, my coach met me, and she said, "That's not who you are. You're not how you played tonight. It's not your worth. It's not how I see you." And that conversation and conversations like that with my coaching staff, with my teammates, I wouldn't have been the player I was for the rest of my career without that kind of belief. And I think that's what we all got to live, was that our softball performance didn't define us. And so there's 2 things that really strike me about that and have made me who I am. and it's why I coach college softball now. And I think the first is that the people around you matter. And I had the best teammates, the best coaches, the best professors and people around me, support staff at Murray State, and I'm eternally grateful for that. People that meet you in your shortcomings, that meet you in your failures, but they don't see you as them. They're going to wade through them with you, but they're going to keep pointing you back to who you truly are. And that's really special. And I'm so thankful for those people in my life. And the second, when I look back on it, I'm struck with just the echoes of the gospel, that in the same way that my coach saw me and didn't see me as my failure, that's the same with the Lord, and that he doesn't see me when I've had a 3 strikeout day in my life, and I have, where I felt like I couldn't do anything right, and I felt like a fraud, that wasn't my identity. And even better, I didn't even have to earn that, like I had to earn Player of the Year. And so it's an even greater perfection. And I learned that in my time in college. And I'm so grateful to also have a picture from my time here that just echoes of that. The people that God put in my life that loved me and cared for me and kept pointing me back there again and again. And so this place is so special to me for a million reasons. But the people that he put in my life that kept pointing me back and keep pointing me back and journey with me through all the things now, several years down the road. And for how he taught me just the realities of who he is and who I am in light of who he is and how I learned that here. I'm incredibly thankful to be back. I can't put it into words. I'm so excited to spend the rest of the weekend here and celebrate and cheer on Murray State this weekend, but only this weekend because they're coming to play us in the spring. So take it away for the weekend. But gosh, yeah, congrats to the rest of this class. I'm excited to continue to get to know you guys and to celebrate alongside of you. And thank you all for being here and for just your part in all of our stories. And go Racers.